Hello, everyone. Welcome to, well, it's been a while, but another walkthrough, another video walkthrough. This time we're playing Yes, Your Grace, which was a little game that surprised me. The reason why I haven't had a lot of uploads recently is, well, there's a couple of reasons. Um, I moved at the end of February this year, and I moved into what was essentially a hotel room with no hardline internet. Um, I did have games saved on my computer, and if I had thought about it, I could have done recording offline, but I didn't think about it. So I was kind of without my computer for about 2 months, and then I broke my foot, which made it difficult to do a lot of things. I'm finally in my house. I'm finally set up. I have internet. I've had internet for probably about the past month now. Really, just been playing a lot of Warframe, which has sort of took over my life again once I got back into the swing of things. But I'm a little burnt out on Warframe, to be perfectly honest with you. So I decided to play something else, and I don't know why I picked Yes Your Grace, but it ended up being a good choice, I think, because it's relatively short. And it's a good game to kind of get into the swing of things, get back into the habit of recording. So without further ado, let's get into it. I do have a walkthrough that I've written up for this game, so I have played the game twice at this point. This will hopefully be pretty quick, but we'll see. The basic gameplay loop of this game is that you are, I guess, a lord. Not really a king, I don't think. Um, but people will come to you every week and petition you for your assistance. And so this is really kind of a decision simulator more so than anything else. We have a couple of resources that we're trying to manage. The goal is to basically have enough resources to do all of the things that the game wants us to do. It's not a particularly difficult game in that sense, but it does require a little bit of forethought, I guess. I don't know if this decision actually matters, but we're trying to be a good king in this playthrough, so we're going to save this man, even though he deserted us. I don't quite understand the merit of deserting when you're inside a sieged castle. Like, you're still there whether you fight or not. But I guess fear isn't logical, right? I'm going to play this a little quick. You know, I want you guys to be able to read what's going on, but my goal is to... I've already read this, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I've already read this twice, so I don't need to read it again. I like the little reverb on that screen there. I think that's very funny. Anyway, the game's about resource management. About trying to make everybody happy while also trying to preserve your resources so you have them when you need them. Our teenage daughters are not getting along. Basically, the gameplay loop of this is that we have a series of people, usually about anywhere from 3 to 5, come and will petition us for our input or for our resources. We decide how to resolve their problem, and then we get to kind of walk around the castle and talk to anybody that really wants to be talked to. Pretty simple. I think that this game has a little bit more room for optimization than what I've done in this playthrough, but the way that this game handles saves is that it only saves either the 9 or 10 most recent weeks. And this game takes place over 50 weeks, so it's you can only go back so far before you have to redo the whole thing. There were a couple decisions that I made that didn't quite pan out the way that I wanted to, but I also really didn't want to redo the whole thing again. We ended up in a place that I thought was pretty good. I think there's only like 1 or 2 petitions that we aren't able to complete by the end of the game. This guard is telling us that we have some things going on with the castle that we need to fix. We really should fix those things before they get worse. And we'll talk about that when we get to the end of the week. Alright, here's our first peasant here. He's having a wedding. He wants some supplies for the wedding. He only wants 5 gold and 5 supplies. We'll see later on in the game that 5 gold is about as much money to rebuild a village in some cases. So this is a pretty expensive wedding, but we can afford it, right? The goal is to kind of answer every request or resolve every request that we can. This guy wants to build an inn, which you actually really want to help him with, because once the inn is completed, it'll actually give us gold every week. So we've already spent a good chunk of our... It's so good! We've already spent a good chunk of our resources already. And we don't get very much every week at this point. So we do need to be a little careful. Monsters. And then we just sent our agent. We don't know what how agents work yet, but that's a little bit of a tutorial there. And then we get to go and talk to the people in the castle. And by people, it's really just our family. Generally speaking, our family members are always in the same place every week. They don't move. So for the most part, anytime we want to come talk to them, it's the same place each time. Trying to make peace with the family here a little bit. You can answer all of these in your playthrough, but I already know what she says, so I'm not going to. It unfortunately doesn't change anything. And there's an achievement here for petting the cat 3 times. We can do this the first time we see the cat here just to get it over with. And the cat farts. Okay. Let's go see that dungeon that the dungeon guard was complaining about. We've got a problem with water. Since you're here, and we'll let him go. Okay, so that's everything to do. In order to end the week, we hit this button down here. And this takes us to the weekly summary. This page is really useful for a couple of things. First of all, it'll tell us what upgrades we have available. It'll tell us what our current win conditions are. We don't have any win conditions yet, but we will soon. And it tells us what our expenses are and what our income is. So for this first week, what I want to do here is I want to fix the pantry roof. I think. Yeah, I want to fix the pantry roof and I want to fix the market stall. So if we wanted to repair the theater, for example, this would decrease our loss of contentment. And contentment affects the amount that we make off of taxes. But if we repair this theater, we have 0 gold, which does give us an achievement, but it means that we won't have gold in time for the next requisitions, the next requests that we have. And those are actually really, really important. So we want to save 10 gold. The reason why we fix the pantry roof is because we want to be able to start stockpiling supplies. Supplies do become a major win condition, and we can use them to answer requests. And same thing with the market stalls. We don't lose gold by keeping the market stall broken or in disrepair, but the earlier we fix it, the earlier we start getting gold. And gold is, again, another major win condition for the game. So the sooner we can start building up our treasury, the more resources we'll have at our disposal later on in the game. And you'll see that we end up actually with quite a bit of resources, much more than you might on a normal playthrough. Our general comes back. He's got a prisoner. We actually want to save him for an event later on in the game. So we're just going to throw him into the dungeon instead of killing him now. That's hinting at another mechanic that we'll get in a few weeks here. Let's talk to the banker. We're poor. He wants to give us some money out of the goodness of his heart, as you can tell from all the jewelry he's wearing. He's a man of means. The way that this works is that we can request money or supplies from the bank for a nominal sum, and then we have to pay those supplies back. So we don't actually get any supplies from the bank. It just sort of changes the timing of supplies. We don't need anything right now. We want to avoid borrowing from them because we don't want to have to pay back what we borrow. So we don't need the bank at all for this playthrough, but I think just generally it's a good practice to save the bank for emergencies. Because the first time you use them, they're free. The second time and on that you use them, they actually start costing gold. We don't need the money right now, so we're not going to use the banker. Talk to our daughter. So this peasant here is a little bit of a trick the game plays on you. And this is actually a pretty good tutorial as far as the major challenge of a playthrough like this, is that sometimes your subjects will request a finite resource. He doesn't want the gold, and we can't afford to give him the gold, and if we give him the general, we won't be able to help our friend over here, Lord Et. So unfortunately, we're not able to help him. We want the gold right now, so we're going to give him the general. As you might expect, we can only have the general assigned to one task at a time. So if we had assigned the general to the peasant previously, we wouldn't have been able to assign him to Lord Et. We had to choose one. And that's good old Pietro, who, I think somebody is chasing him. We get to go talk to our middle daughter here. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter what we say at this point. We mention Lorsulia, I think is her name. Lorsulia is how you pronounce her name. I don't know if this decision matters, but let's just pick no more visits to the market. Go talk to our wife, Aurelia. Tell her about the Rodovians.
Kamabu. Uva. Estina. Enastiva. Aba uva. Epelavo. Estina. Umbala. Kapiba. Kalana. Ana.
As our wife suggested, let's go talk to the soldier in the dungeon. Archives here give us all of the updates on quests and stuff. I'm not typically going to be referring to this, but there's some interesting things to read there sometimes. And then let's go talk to our eldest daughter, who is in a little bit of a funk here. And I apologize if I go through this dialogue a little quickly. I do read fast, but it also doesn't help that I've read this twice already at this point, and then we can sort of end the week there. You can see that we only ended up with 3 gold net income over the week because we have to pay for our general, who is quite expensive. Basically, our entire weekly income at this point is going towards our general. If it wasn't for the Newmarket stalls, we'd be making barely anything. And similar to last week, we don't want to repair the theater yet because we do need the gold this week. It's difficult to explain kind of the loop of the game. Hopefully you guys will pick up what I'm talking about as we go through it. It's really just about managing resources, right? Everybody that comes to talk to us is going to have a request, and we want to have enough resources in order to answer their requests. If we had repaired the theater, we wouldn't have had enough. We need our gold, but we can give supplies, which also resolves the request and gives us some extra contentment. We're not worried about like each individual piece of contentment, but it does add up over time. So we do want to answer, again, the point of the playthrough is to sort of resolve as many requests as possible. This is a really good investment. This is what we're saving our gold for here. This gentleman here will start giving us 3 gold a week, which is a huge boost to... it basically increases our income by 20% at this point in the game. This is what we're saving our gold for here. I did try a version of this playthrough where I used the banker to get the gold, But basically, all I was using the gold for was this, which made the banker feel a little bit frivolous. So I just sort of changed the routing instead. And because we fixed the pantry roof, we have enough supplies for this request. Otherwise, we would have been losing 8 supplies a week. So it kind of, everything sort of worked out here, which I'm quite happy about. Okay, let's go talk to our counselor here. This is one of the other mechanics of the games that we can invite people to come visit us. This is how we set up alliances. Alliances will give us soldiers, gold, supplies, and potentially quest rewards. And we can end the week. So periodically, I do like to take stock of what's going on. We're making 13 gold a week and 8 supplies, but we're spending 9 gold a week. We want to start building up our treasury as soon as possible. There comes a point later on in the game where you can choose not to pay your agents. It would be okay to not pay Stan this week. It would save us some gold. But we'll get to a point pretty quickly where we're making enough money that we can afford to keep our agents on retainer at all times. Stan is the general, by the way. This is Stan. We were able to help Lord Etten, which is nice. Here's King Talus. He's kind of an asshole. So, this is a really interesting choice here. The 3,000 extra men are basically irrelevant. 22 extra gold is nice. It does help us in the short term. But if we ask him for the general, he'll pay Stan's wages for quite a while, which is 9 gold a week, essentially. That means that as long as we're after 3 weeks, we've already made our money back versus the 22 extra gold. This is like by far and away the best choice. We've made a new ally. Great. We've sold our daughter away to marriage, unfortunately. We'll have to tell her eventually. Let's finish these requests here. Got some gold, got some contentment there. Pretty good, all things considered. I don't need you, banker. Thank you, though. We can actually call the banker using the allies function later on. Okay, let's go talk to... Let's invite Ada first. She's our only other ally that we can invite. Once we complete her request, she will give us 1 supply every week. So again, the sooner that we can complete this, the better. And then let's go talk to our family. Let's go tell our wife that Lorsulia is being married to a prince, not a bandit. And then let's go talk to our eldest daughter to give her the bad news. You can see that we've got 3,000 soldiers now, when before we only had 100. I think that's maybe a valid reaction. And then I think that's about everything to do for this week. Let me just make sure. We can't send our general anywhere, so let's end the week there. Easy enough. And now, as you can see, we're no longer having to pay for stand, but we do have some extra upgrades to make for the wedding. There's not a reason to do any of this right now. We can do this right before the wedding and get all the benefits, but we can repair the theater since we now have a little bit of extra gold here. Since we're essentially making 9 more gold per week. And this will prevent us from losing contentment, which will allow us to start building up our taxes more quickly. So, this is now, I believe, the final mechanic of the game. which we can send our agents to the map. Different places on the map will give us resources and things like that. We want to clear all of these camps before the wedding in order to prevent any bad things from happening during the wedding. There's 2 other spots down here for 2 other agents. We don't have access to them yet, but we will have access to them by the end of the game, allowing us to visit potentially 3 locations on the map or send our agents to respond to 3 inquiries at the same time. The wedding is in 4 weeks. Let's talk to Lady Ada, who we invited. So she's given us a quest, basically. Somebody has stolen gold from her. She wants us to catch him and let her know when we catch him. Here's our merchant friend back from the inn. One gold every week would be helpful, but we can request more. We could ask for 4 gold, but it would cause the inn to close down. So let's take the 3 gold to give us 3 gold income for the rest of the game, basically. He can afford it. Clearly. He obviously wasn't that upset about it. We have more supplies than gold right now, so let's give him some supplies. Okay. We spent a lot of the early game talking to our family members. We'll have less to say as we get later on in the game, but the beginning couple of weeks are pretty busy. Ursilia's not here. Let's go talk to our middle daughter. We see our middle daughter is now fighting with swords.
Oiwa. Oia.
Uhalaka. Ustalaba. Ana akennya.
Cabo oi. Oi bai.
Aku no. Unasta.
Obawa.
Enak hau.
Kai.
Ikan. Istomo.
Oi.
Inakobo. Hake.
Okay.
Kui oia.
Nobody left to talk to. Let's exhaust our allies here. Let's send the general to post west here. So it'll take one turn, 1 week to complete. What that means is that he'll be back at the beginning of next week. So basically, we can send him there for free as long as we don't have any other commitments for him. It costs us nothing to send him to go out and explore. So we want to do that as much as possible. As you can see here, we're getting the extra 3 gold. We're getting 16 gold a week now. The fact that we're not paying for the general means that we're basically doubling our income, which is going to allow us to build up our treasury really quickly, which is really nice. We've got 3 weeks until the wedding. We're going to save these until right before the wedding, just to make sure that we have gold if we need it for request before then.
Obai. Iba oba.
Thank you, Audrey.
Oi badai. Oi dai. Oi. Oi.
We're not going to be usually that profitable going to explore a point on the map, but it's nice to have that anyway.
The Matigan Tonko. Taboa.
Fananato! Sinapan pre. But me no.
Umbal.
Oi Dabo. Tiba wo.
Inalo. Akanula. Inkuvana.
Koi. Oi da oi. Bado oi. Iwawa. Obai.
So again, another little bit of a trick here. If we send out the general, we won't be able to clear the remaining 2 camps, right? We have 3 weeks left. This will take 2 weeks, which means at most we'll be able to clear out 1 camp. If we leave 1 camp remaining, we lose 2 contentment during the wedding. If we send the general to address this issue, we lose 1 contentment now. So it's actually better for us to ignore this request
Koi waya.
in the long term.
Oi oi. Oia.
Boo! Hey, boo! Hey, boo! Boo! Hey, boo! Boo!
And then we can go ahead and buy this. We actually have a good amount of gold built up. And we can spend 5 gold now to use this to resolve a request later that would otherwise cost us 7 gold. So this kind of pays for itself, kind of saves us money,
Oia.
if you think about it really hard.
Boo! Boo! Hey, boo!
Kind of. I don't think Aurelia really has anything new to say, but let's talk to her anyway.
Imo.
Oi doiba.
Davon.
Oia baio. Oi oi.
Estabo. Ane. Ashabo. Kuvina. Ubasta. Memo.
Nobody else to talk to? Let's go ahead and send Stan to another post here. And nothing to do with our allies, so end the week. Just checking my notes here, making sure I'm not forgetting something.
Bye. Oh, bye. Oh, day boy. Hey, what?
So we got one contentment from that, so that was already equal to what we would have gotten if we had sent him with the soldier last week in half the time. So it's just better to ignore that soldier and send Stan to investigate the Radovian outposts. And here's our friend from, I guess, week 1 or week 2, who's going to give us another 1 gold per week income.
Aqui na pan. É cependant.
Oops, excuse me. Hopefully you guys didn't hear that.
Em bringa ma.
That is very generous.
Oh, yeah.
Baba mama.
Passive income is the best income.
Kui o ya.
Ura tidi.
E babo.
E aso.
Kabo.
Ito ura. Hello. Ela kana. Infukuru.
Ooh.
Kababo. Yabo. Oi. Abadaya.
Waka Boasan. Ya Wempo One. Bosom Wak. We gon' Bosom Wak. Bokon Waso. Waka Boa. Ya Wempo One.
He's obviously a drunkard, but this is actually the best option.
Waka Boa. Bosom Wako.
Oi, bakai. Oi, baka. Oi, ba. Driba. Oi, baka. Koi ba.
We can't send the general for the same reason that we couldn't send the general last week, but we can give some supplies.
Oi, boa. Badaibo. Obanwa. Babayawo. Bea obayawa. Ai, obai.
It better be. Hello. It do.
This is the man that Lady Ada was looking for, so let's send him to prison,
Akraido. Iwa.
and we can invite Ada to finish her quest as soon as possible so we can start getting that 1 supply income as soon as possible. Let's go talk to our wife again. We want to make sure you talk to your wife at least once a week.
Kuwa ya.
Eko. Estina. Ajupa. Aba.
If you can, it's better to talk to your wife at least twice a week, but I understand that that's not possible for everybody.
Kaba. Wata.
Okay. Nobody else to talk to? We'll send Stan to the last outpost here. And end the week. We're already starting to see a huge benefit from asking for that extra general from King Talus. We would be at 30 gold right now instead of 57, so a huge difference. I'm gonna go ahead and do these now. We have technically 1 week, but I get nervous. So we'll just get these upgrades now. To be clear, none of these are necessary, right? None of these upgrades affect the outcome of the wedding. But we're trying to have sort of an optimal playthrough here, and so I want to do all of the upgrades if I can. So that's why we're buying these now. if you're struggling with resources in your playthrough, it's not going to hurt
お
to not buy those upgrades.
おいだいおいどい
So we don't get anything from that last post, but like I said, if we left that last outpost up, we would lose 2 contentment during the wedding. So you can kind of think of that as gaining 2 contentment.
バイバイやばい
Uga.
声はや
Kuba Adago.
どいば
Iva Ua. Kuva Uba. Kuba Adago.
バイバか
Istana.
And so we will now get 1 supply per week for basically the rest of the game, which matters. I mean, basically that gives us like a bonus 40 supplies over the course of the game. That's not nothing.
ブレーキンเป็นซอต่อพอฟินนักแพ้สิงคโปร์
Stana.
うばいわ
I don't wanna cast.
ตีบ่าวง
Lasta Ua.
And so this is the peasant that we can give the medicine to down here.
Kana Istina on photo Ola. Isu Kana Bana Ota. Kola
บา
Ta.
วายแต่บ่ว่าดาเฮ้ยโอ้ยอีบ่าวาย
Stepe Ola.
I actually don't know if it helps or not, but it resolves the quest. Let's talk to our daughters.
Ekala Ui.
อีไว้อุกาวา
Ipak. Iwinda.
โอ้
Eka.
โอ้ยอุยบาย
Alana.
ตาบ่วาตาดาบ่ว
Ekamu.
ดาบ่ย
Kana.
อุยบาย
Istaba. Estacena.
คู่ว่ายา
Ubana.
โอ้ก็คู่บายตีบ่าวง
Go to the council chamber.
อุบ้านว่าว่าด้วยพลาดโอ้ยพลาดสวัสดิ์อุบ้านได้บ่โอ้ย
Let's go talk to our wife. She's going to ask us to pick a dress here.
Stiva Ibana. Iawa.
So we've got 3 options. This option is free. This is basically what Lorsulia wears anyway. This costs us 25 gold. This we get on loan from the bank, so it costs us nothing immediately, but costs us 50 gold over the course of the game. I want to say that we can afford this, but I actually don't think that it looks very good, so I'm going to go with this instead.
Uestela. Erika. Kalana.
And so that's kind of like the perfect wedding. We've kind of done everything that we need to. We've maximized the wedding itself. Again, none of that stuff matters, but I'm doing it sort of to show off that we can. A 50 gold loan is pretty steep.
I don't know.
That's about as much as we spent on the wedding itself.
Ulana. Mikanas. Estana. Ekini Loda.
อี
Piuna.
So, I'm going to choose I Love You Too, but you can select You'll Be Fine for an achievement. It doesn't
บี
really change anything,
Eleka.
but this way they hug it out at least.
ดาบาเต้บาโร
Stana. Akala.
กาบ่โอ้ย
Adonfono.
ดาบ่
And we can sort of just end the week there, I think. There's nothing to send our general to. We've explored everything on the map so far. No reason to call our allies. We're already allied to Ada. We're about ready to be allied to Talus. So let's just end the week. And so, like I said, there's no series of choices that we can make here that changes the outcome of the wedding. It's really just a matter of whether you want to be a completionist or not. If you don't get these upgrades, you get to carry the 15 supplies and the 25 gold into the next stage of the game. But we can afford these. I can afford these. So I figured I'd show it off. That way, if you're looking for the achievement or anything like that, you can follow these strategies to get the achievement.
Well. Frågan där. Där. Oj, oj. Glädje. Där då.
Oi?
Så är det. Oj. Där är det färdigt. Frågan. Så är det va. Saya koi. Nej, nej. Fly.
Uba.
Hola, cava.
Flaria. Caboa. E plada yewai. Exawai. Wait, plada.
That's actually kind of a lie, isn't it? The wedding was the best wedding ever.
Ubai. What the? Zam.
Akanele. Ilisu.
Zadon.
Kabavi.
Fly eye. Fly eye. Fly eye. Fly. Zado. Zudai. What the you boy? Zudai. Flada war. What's that?
Ulas.
Oi.
Casi.
Där då. Fly då. Fly. Så är det.
Flamma! Fla! Footboya, ja! Emila! Fera footfika! Ma!
Där då. Ej, oj, oj. Fly där, oj. Fly, oj.
If we requested gold, they would ask for the gold back here. But they don't request any kind of compensation if they're paying for the general.
Footfika!
Så är det. Fly där, oj.
Da! Mira boy! Jamas!
Koa.
And that's going to be the end of this first video, right at an hour here. That's kind of Act 1 of the game. It sort of serves as a tutorial. The rest of the game takes place over the course of 40 weeks, so another 2.5 or 3 hours or so. It's a relatively short game. Anyway, I'm going to stop it there. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.